Light of Day. What is it? What's in it for you and your students? Light of Day is a project sponsored by the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas. It started in 2004 when former award-winning journalist Pete Slover and Dan Malone proposed the idea of a collaborative outreach program for young college students in journalism. The foundation, working with interested Texas colleges and universities, sponsors the projects, and the students learn how to access public records. Previous Light of Day projects have provided extensive investigative reporting involving underreported crimes, spikes in liquor violations, and the use of tasers and excessive force on campuses. Today, more than a half dozen universities across the state participate in Light of Day projects. How does the project work?
The initial round of how it's going to go is a collaboration among a number of different professors, whoever wants to be involved, and the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas. And so there's sort of an outline of this is the topic we'd like to address. But then I think that each university that's involved gets to take it into their own world that they live in.
Students from various campuses around the state meet with faculty from their campuses in a group, typically once a year at the end of the summer, and discuss what the stories might be, and there's a discussion and a collaboration and a decision is made on what the story's going to be.
What are some examples of projects students have worked on?
Specifically with this project, we're wanting to highlight, the loophole in the Clery Act and wanting to show how many Texas Tech students are victimized off campus. And of course, surprisingly, with all these statistics that we found, a lot of these students were victimized just across the street from campus.
Yes, a lot of them, about 1,600 if I'm correct. And then because of this story, and it was published in our school newspaper as well as in our online classroom format, we were able to get the university to spur into action, and they're currently putting together a special task force to see how to protect students off of the Texas Tech campus.
At Tarleton State University, student reporting under the guidance of Professor Dan Malone resulted in one of the largest fines by the United States Department of Education. The department found that Tarleton State violated the U.S. Clery Act by underreporting crimes and sex offenses on its campus from 2003 to 2005. The $137,000 fine has been reduced and was appealed. However, the investigative reporting has also changed campus policies, resulting in a safer campus for all. How much oversight will you have over the project?
It doesn't add tremendously to the workload of a journalism professor who is participating in what would otherwise be an isolated investigative project. It doesn't add to or dictate the terms on which a professor teaches. Light of Day is a collaboration among and between journalism education professionals and working journalists. Typically the subject matter that has been the most effective and what you can expect to see the emphasis on is things that touch on campus life, things that have some connection not just to the surrounding world, which is being covered to some degree or not by other news media, but to issues that are relevant to students and oftentimes relevant to campus operations, economics, policy making, discipline, choices, budgets, things of that nature.
How will this project benefit your students?
I think that the professors and the students both benefit from the broad horizons that these stories lay out there. When you think about mattering to the world at large, a story about a given university in, let's say, North Texas matters less to a person in South Texas than a story about all the universities in Texas and the ones who are especially bad or especially good in this public area. This enables you to do those kinds of big sweeping stories that will have relevance not just to a small subset of the community, but to a big and diverse group of people. That's the kind of stories that news organizations want. And the ability to produce those stories is the kind of skill that news organizations want.
I was in journalism school about the same time that the Texas Public Information Act was first passed. And my teacher at UT, Mike Quinn, gave us all a little breast pocket guide that we were supposed to keep in our jacket or shirt pocket when we were out working on stories that gave you a thumbnail understanding of how open records and open meetings work. But I didn't have any sort of training like what the Freedom of Information Foundation's Light of Day Project offers to college students, and it would have made me a much better reporter and would have got me up to speed a lot faster had I had some training like this when I was a student.
Light of Day gives students the ability to get real-world experience and an opportunity to meet many potential employers which otherwise would be hard to meet.
I mean, it's a really great way to get your kids into an experience, get your students into a journalism experience that actually results in published journalism. You know, you're not just, sort of doing an exercise in a laboratory. You're doing work in a journalism context. It's got to be professional standard. It's got to be, it's got to be the kind of thing that we would publish.
Most of us, I think, want to leave the world a better place than it was when we arrived. We want to make a difference, and the Light of Day Project has allowed students at college campuses all over the state to make a difference by bringing information that the public didn't know to the public light, or in some cases changing the very institutions that they were studying at. It's a great experience for student journalists to have the opportunity hands-on to request records for a news story and follow that process through. In addition to being a great educational tool, it's also something that has done a lot of good on the college campuses where the project has been working in terms of just doing good journalism.
If you're interested in being a journalist, you should do this. I mean, there's just no question, because it's the kind of practical experience that you're going to get in dealing with public officials and in dealing with the government, and then in dealing with data that you get back and how to interpret that. That kind of practical experience with the guidance of a project like this, with sort of within the parameters of a project, is just invaluable.
The Light of Day Project works in conjunction with the nonpartisan, non-political online news source, the Texas Tribune, to help students publish and gain work experience with investigative journalism. Schools and students involved with the project have gone on to win many prestigious awards. In 2012, Southern Methodist University professor Jake Batzel and his journalism students won the SPJ First Amendment Award for their outstanding work featuring a 2-semester Light of Day project about crime on SMU's campus. Part of their reporting provides an interactive multimedia opportunity for students, parents, or the public to monitor for themselves the level of crime in any particular area of campus they may be concerned with. We are proud of all of our partners and their participation. Why not give your students an added advantage today by joining the impressive array of colleges and universities now participating in Light of Day? The Freedom of Information Foundation received funding for the Light of Day project from the National Freedom of Information Coalition through a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. Established in 1950, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation makes national grants in journalism, education, and arts and culture. Its 4th program, Community Initiatives, is concentrated in 26 communities where the Knight brothers publish newspapers, but the foundation is wholly separate and independent of those newspapers.